Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kay Spivey. I'm just getting back into the swing of things and we're hitting the end of 2025, which has been pretty much the worst year of my life, which I talk about in my other video. Feel free to check out my life update vlog to kind of find out what was all going on with that. But I thought I'd take this chance, year end. I've got some tea here and I thought I would just sit and chat with you and talk about 5 things that I didn't really learn until I was in my late 20s, early 30s. Things that are kind of intuitive things, but maybe just didn't sink in for me. And I'm suspecting, if you're anything like me, hearing them from me is not going to make you not ignore signs or do things differently until you kind of hit that point where you also have that aha moment. But when that aha moment hit for me was like late 20s, early 30s about these things. And it was just like, oh, of course, of course. But I thought I'll go ahead and share them because if they're in your mind, maybe you will kind of learn from things a little bit sooner than I did. So that's the idea for today's video, is kind of end the year on a positive note like that. So I'm gonna start off. Number 1. Tattoos are way easier than piercings. I got a ton of piercings. I actually had 2 more on this ear. Back in high school, I was just piercing. And the thing about piercings is, it takes like 2 months for them to heal to the point where you're not just scrubbing, cleaning the blood, twisting the thing. It takes a long time. And then it really, at least for me, especially in the cartilage, it takes a year before it's healed. You don't notice it. You can roll over onto that ear and it doesn't hurt at night, kind of thing. You can take the earrings out and forget about them and the hole doesn't close up. For them to actually be healed, it takes at least a year for that to happen. At least for me it did. They take so long. But tattoos, when I got my tattoo, these are healed in 2 weeks, healed. I've always had this kind of healed. When you first get it done, I think when you get your ear pierced, I think the worst part for me was the listening to it, because it's right by your ear especially. That sound was awful. And then they punched a hole in your skin. So it's a really intense pain a little while after, and a throbby pain, awful. With the tattoo, it hurts like someone is kind of dragging a needle across your skin, and then it's very much a sunburny pain. And it's that kind of sunburny pain where you're like, I really regret doing this. Every time I touch it, it hurts. And that's for a day or 2, where you really gotta, the Aquaphor was the one that I used. You really gotta keep that thing covered. And it hurts, and if you touch it, it hurts, and you're nervous about it. And then you hit around the 2-week mark and you're like, oh, I've always had this tattoo. Oh, it's always been part of my skin. It's totally healed. It's totally fine. Even after I think day 3 usually, because I got this one and then I got this one. And so about day 3, and I think it was even faster when I got the touch-ups. The touch-ups healed. It was I had the sunburn all over again, and then it was healed in 2 days. About 3 days, it's just kind of oh, okay, I keeping it nice, but it doesn't really hurt anymore. It heals so fast. And maybe if you were to get a full filled in one with color, because mine are both line arts, but if maybe you were to get a full filled in one, and maybe if it was covering more of your body, maybe it would take longer, but it was so fast compared to piercings. I was shocked. So passing on that knowledge to you. Number 2 is, and I feel I learn this constantly, is make the changes that you want to make now. And that's the kind of thing where I feel the first time I learned it, I was probably actually younger. It was when my parents first moved. They were moving out of not my childhood home, but my growing up as a teenager home, and moving, actually they ended up back in my childhood home. What I learned then was, when you're getting ready to sell a house or make a big change, suddenly you do a bunch of changes to it, and suddenly you get to this point where you're this is so nice. This is really, really nice. I don't want to move anymore. And when I was moving from my condo into my previous house, it was the same kind of thing. When we were getting ready for that, we changed out the carpets, and the carpets were nice. We changed the windows previously, but it was another one of those things where it's the windows made such a huge difference. The carpet was so nice. When we painted, I was wait a second, this house is nice. It's not kind of dingy. It's a nice place to be. But it's not just those changes. It's not those big changes, but if you want your walls to be a different color, or you just think my walls look terrible, paint them now. Like, paint them for you. Paint them, and then it's a big project to do. It's expensive up front, and then you'll be so happy. Like, you won't just look at the walls and say, oh, I wish it didn't have these marks from the previous tenant, or I wish it didn't have these marks from me. I wish it didn't look like this, and I wish it was in this color. You'll just say, I'm glad these walls are so pretty. And you can have a neutral color, but you could also have a pretty color. Like, just do it now. But that also applies to things like the dishes. You know, if you're like, I wish there weren't all these dishes in the sink, I wish I had a clean kitchen, like, doing that, like, just finding it somewhere inside yourself to just do it and make yourself a clean kitchen goes so far. Like, it just goes so far. Being like, I wish my bed sheets were nice and clean. Stopping in the moment, stripping your bed sheets and getting them washed goes so far. Just doing the things right now that are going to make you happy in the long term, or even in the short term, but just stopping and doing them is so valuable. I mean, it could be for literally anything. You're like, I wish I had some cookies in the house. If you stop and make some cookies, you know what tomorrow you gets to have? Some of the cookies you made today. You know, like, just making the changes in your life you want to make. Like, you want to have a tattoo? Go and get your tattoo done. It's not that hard. You got it done. There we go. That's how you can see it a little better. My tattoo is so pretty. I love it. But that's going to roll into my number 3, which is most things are easier once you start doing them. If you need to paint a room of your house, getting the paint, getting set up, putting on the plastic, putting the tape and whatever, that's so hard. But once you have done that, then you just paint and then you're all done. If you need to make a phone call, like, the anxiety and the dread and the, like, staring at the number for ages and ages takes so long. And then you just make that phone call. You set up that appointment. It's just done. And then you've already done it. Like, most things are easier. Washing the dishes. Once you start washing the dishes, then the dishes are all done. Yes, they pile back up, but that's tomorrow's problem, you know? Cleaning in general, I would say, definitely is easier once you start. If you're just like, man, I wish my floors were cleaner, and you pull out the vacuum and you start, you do this room, you might as well do that room. The vacuum's not full yet. Just finish that room, finish that room. You can just go around the mess. You can just do the parts of the room that are already clear. You don't even have to pick up first. But it's so much easier to have done that. And then when you do pick up, then you really only have to do the parts that were covered, right? So, you know, like, once you have started doing something, it is easier. Like, almost everything. I'm sure there are things that are a lot harder once you start doing them. Nothing is coming to mind right now, but most things, if you can just start them, it's so much better. And then it plays back into number 2. Like, you've started it, then you completed it, now you're done. Especially since this is a writer channel. Like, this is one of those things that, like, if you start writing, you just sit down and you start writing. That's sometimes the easiest part, honestly, for a lot of writers. But if you keep starting writing, if you keep sitting down and continuing writing, you keep on doing it, you keep sitting down and doing the initiation of the writing, eventually you've got a book. And it took shorter than you thought because you were continuously sitting down and working on it. A lot of things can be like that too. You just keep doing it little by little. Even things that feel like they back up, like cleaning or doing the dishes or doing the laundry, if you just keep doing a little bit, that does kind of snowball. Especially when you feel like, I've got the spoons, I can do all the laundry right now, and then put all the laundry away, I can do that right now. And then you do it, now all the laundry is clean. Everything is clean and put away. That's huge. That's so nice. So the more things like that you can just be like, okay, I'm just starting it. I'm just doing it. I'm gonna get it done. The more you're like, yeah, most things aren't that hard. Most things really are that easy. Even if you know you have to call and like argue about something with someone, like you've got to argue for your insurance or something, it's still easier to get it done than to just sit there and dread having to make that phone call, because that part eats you up forever. And then just doing it, at least you've done it. And the relief is there, hopefully. Number 4, I think, is going to be a little bit more serious, especially as we're kind of heading into the deep, dark, cold months. And that's reach out first. Like, reach out for anything. If you're just like, I've got to have somebody like help me move this couch, nobody's ever going to know that you need that help until you reach out and ask them. And then you do ask them. So usually you can find a friend or maybe even a neighbor who can just be like, yeah, I can stop by after work. Like, no problem. I can move this for you. Or if you're just like, I just need somebody to talk to. I just need someone around. Like, people don't know that. And that's hard when you're in the depression stage. When you're really depressed, it is so hard to be the one to reach out and say, hey, can you come spend the night? But you're going to be shocked how many people are like, of course, like, I can't believe you're going through this. Like, of course I'll come and help you and I'll bring cookies, you know? But you do have to be the one to reach out. And I think that's so hard. I feel like when you're in the depression, you're like, nobody cares about me. And me reaching out, especially, and don't feel discouraged. You got to like keep it in your brain. Nobody is hating on you because they don't respond fast enough, you know? Even if it takes them a week and you're through everything by then. Like, nobody's hating you because of that. People got their own lives. But like, if you don't reach out, no one's ever going to know. And so if for anything, you're just like, I need to talk to someone right now. If you're like, I want someone to see my new puppy, like, just be the first person to reach out. If you're just like, you know what, I miss you. Haven't talked to you in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And we used to be close and I just miss you. If you're the one to reestablish that relationship, usually everyone else is waiting for that too. You know, everyone else is waiting for you to be the one to reach out. And sometimes being the one to reach out every time sucks. And sometimes you're going to find that being the one to reach out every time isn't worth it. And that maybe because you're the one who has to organize the family event or something like that, or the friend group, maybe not doing that is the more cathartic thing for you. Maybe just kind of realizing that like, no, this has played out its course. I can fall out with this family member. I can fall out with this whole side of my family. And because I'm not the one reaching out, they're never going to reach out. Maybe that's a little bit sad, but maybe that's something that then is also cathartic. You can easily just kind of walk away from things that you don't want to be a part of. Like, that's true too. But if you want to be a part of it, being the first person to reach out just really goes a long way. It's hard a lot of times, but it is true. And then the last one is probably the most important, and that is to listen to red flags the first time. Like, if you go into a job interview and you come out being like, there's something so sketch, like there's something wrong here, there's something that made me uncomfortable, but you need the job, just know that if you take the job, you will be feeling the effects of that red flag for the duration of the time you're there, and you're going to eventually quit and you're going to be unhappy. Like, it's just going to happen. You probably need to do that a couple times before you're like, girl, you gotta listen to these red flags. You know, if you're in a relationship and a week in the person does something that you're like, that's psychotic, but I really like this person, I'm gonna give them another chance. I'm just telling you now, you're gonna have to go through it. But if you listen to that like red flag alert in the back of your head, it's gonna save you a lot of stress and trouble and time and unhappiness, because it's gonna continue to come up. If you felt it the first time, it's very rare. You find the right person, they can work through things, or maybe at the job it was just like that one person interviewing you and they're leaving or something, like maybe. But 9 times out of 10, I feel like, maybe even like 19 times out of 20, I don't know, the red flag is going to reoccur. And the sooner you just step away, the more long-term happiness you're going to have. So that's the red hot tea. Just, yeah, in any situation, if you're just like, there is something wrong, it doesn't have to be a big something wrong. It could just be like, you ever get that, especially ladies out there, you ever get that feeling where you're like with a guy and you're like, this guy is probably really problematic. He's probably a kind of abusive. He's probably pretty misogynistic, but he's being really nice right now. But I just have that vibe. You're right. You're right about him. You're right. Do you want to deal with that long term and have it drive you crazy? Or do you want to just get out? You know, I'm going to give you an example. I very briefly worked as the marketing person for a chiropractic clinic. It turned out it was a sales job, and I don't like doing sales. That's not my cup of tea. I don't want to be a salesperson. But it was entirely a sales job. They had like they were paying into an MLM. They were paying into a pyramid scheme that then I had to be a part of. And I found out after a couple of months that it was just like, I had to watch these like webinars, and it was like all really fake. it was pretty, oh man, I just like, and finally I was just like, I have to get out. It turned out that the guy's wife ran a different MLM. Anyway, he was in he'd been at a chiropractor in the same office for something like 50 years, and he had a failing business. And I was like, it was a dingy spot. I was trying to do everything marketing wise, and he was like strict on having me do these like stupid sales things. It was so bad. I hated it. But anyway, I went in and it was a group interview. And I'm going to also say group interviews, kind of a red flag. As someone who hires people now, I would not want to run a group interview. I would not know who among that group to hire after a group interview, especially the way that I have taken group interviews. I think they're dumb as shit. They're stupid, and they're kind of a red flag. I feel like usually it's a boss who is kind of a shitty person who tries to do a group interview. Maybe that's not always the case. Maybe, I don't know, but I've never had a good group interview and then had a good job afterwards. It's always been a shitty job. But anyway, and as someone who hires people, I would never run a group interview. Oh, that's a lot. One-on-one is how you find out everything about a person for hiring them. So anyway, it was a group interview. I was the only white blonde girl there. So give you that. This chiropractor, older guy, white guy. And he did have an Asian girl as the front desk host. But I didn't think anything about it. As we're sitting there, like one of the girls like just gets up and leaves before the interview even starts. The interview starts super late. I assume she had somewhere else to be because it was like more than 15 minutes late. This interview started. It was crazy. One of the girls was like a pro. Like I heard her talking and giving her like a credential. She had all the credentials for this job. She was an actual marketing person. She had actual business background. She was phenomenal. She was also it's been a long time, dark hair, browner skin. I think she was Indian, but I don't know for sure. She was so overqualified for this job. Gorgeous. And I was just like, well, she's getting the job anyway. I went back, gave a subpar interview because I had never done anything like that, but I had, I'm really good at interviews. I'm really good at knowing a thing about the business. I'm good at, being super cheerful, being the kind of person you want to work with. Like, I'm great at that. I can get the job I want, But then, and there was a black girl there. There were a couple other women going for this role. It was all women, which also could have been a red flag. But, the interview was okay. The guy was a little bit weird, but I was like, doctors, So I left and got called back pretty quickly that they were giving me the job. And I was like, it can only be one of two things. Because one of the other girls, not only the really, really gorgeous one who was way overqualified, but one of the other girls was also really overqualified. Like she had experience. So it was like the only reason I could be the one who they were hiring would be because these other two dropped out. Like they're obviously the better choices. They gave way better interviews. And so I was like, yeah, that must be it. So I went ahead, even though I was like, it just seems wrong. It seems like in the group I was in, I was not the one to choose. First of all, the job sucked and everything, and the pay rate wasn't even good. Like maybe they really did drop out. But come to find, as things go on, the guy was just really racist. I got hired because I was the white blonde girl. And it's not really... It sucks for me and it sucks for them, and it also sucks for him not hiring someone who would have been excellent at that job and like picked up his business. But I had that feeling where it was like something's not right about that. Like I really wasn't the right person for this job based on the pool of people here. And they kept claiming that there were other group interviews, although that was probably a lie. Yeah, I really regretted that job and quickly got out of it into a different job. A different chiropractic clinic where I was doing just front desk. And that job had its own issues. Also a racism problem. Interesting. Well, the racism problem from the other people who worked at the front desk. It wasn't the boss. He was just perfectly oblivious to anything that wasn't chiropractic. So that was a whole different thing. Just be wary. Also be wary of anyone who, not even like offering less than minimum wage. Obviously that's a red flag that we all know about, but kind of just be really wary of anyone who is kind of trying to in one way or another pay you less than you're worth. That can be in a lot of different ways, but like giving you really sparse hours to start off, having like a trial period where you are making less than you should be, and then, you're going to make more later. Things like that, or like working really bad hours, or if it's in a really bad part of town and you're supposed to be the opening person and you're like 25 or less, little white girl. You're supposed to be opening a building and you're brand new, things like that, where it's just like, this has got to be someone else's job. Like, why am I a key holder and I'm making less than minimum wage for the first 2 months? I did that once because I was desperate. That's not a good idea. They also didn't have heating in the middle of winter. I got very sick. It was not good. I was a front desk person wearing full winter gear inside a building. Don't do that. Don't do it to yourself. So there's my list. Tattoos are way easier than piercings. Go for the tattoos if you want them. The piercings, really think about, because it's going to take a while to heal. Make the changes that you want to make right now. Do you want to have blue hair? You go have blue hair. You know what? Hair grows out real fast sometimes. And dye tends to wash out. Even permanent dye, wash it a few times, it's pretty much gone. You could re-dye it a different color. Like, just go do the change that you want to do now, rather than thinking about how much you want it. Just do it. And if it turns out you hate having blue hair, never dye your hair blue again. You have a whole life to live. The month and a half that you've got blue hair is not going to kill you. Almost everything is easier once you just start it. You know, don't think so much about the process of getting started and just start something. I mean, you could say the first step is buying paint. You know, buy that paint. Just get that step. Now you've got paint in the house, 100 times easier to paint your house. You know, you gotta get things rolling in order to do anything. So just get it rolling. It's always going to be easier that way. Reach out first. You got to be the one to do it. You know, you can't always count on people to be the ones to do it. And you know what? You're probably going to make somebody's day. Somebody was really wishing you would reach out. And then when you do, it's going to be like the best thing in the world to them. You don't know how much they're struggling. Maybe you need each other right now. So be the one who does that. And then last is just listen when the red flags pop up. Like, I know there's all kinds of jokes and memes and things about red flags versus green flags and all that. You will know. And when that little voice in the back of your head is like, hey, something's not right, you listen to that the first time and base your life around that, because you're gonna be a lot happier and a lot safer. Anyway, that's all for me today. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe and all of that. And I'm wishing you really happy holidays, like as happy as they can be for you, as, you know, as much family, friends around as you want. And yeah, just hopefully the year can close out in the best way that it can, with given the circumstances, you know. But yeah, lots of love.